All right, whether it was Deshaun Watson settling 20 cases from women accusing him of sexual misconduct or the fact that Brittney Griner is still being wrongfully detained in Russia, it's been a full week in professional sports, so let's talk about it all. Joining me now, Howard Bryant. He's a commentator for ESPN and Meadowlark Media and author of Ricky, The Life and Legend of an American Original. Go out and get that book. Howard, so happy to have you with me. I want you to take a listen to what Cheryl Griner, wife of Brittney Griner, told my colleague Joy Reid earlier this week.
An American that's deemed wrongfully detained, to my understanding from what the State Department is saying, America will negotiate their release. It's not a maybe, it's a will. They will negotiate for their release. And so right now, my wife has been wrongfully detained. America has already determined that she gets no justice in that system and that they will negotiate her release. And so my push is for the American administration right now, the Biden administration, to do exactly that, to make a deal for BG because she is wrongfully detained.
Now the WNBA is saying seven-time All-Star Brittney Griner will be an honorary All-Star starter after being locked up in a Russian jail. It feels like the longer she's there, the more concerning it is. And we just don't want the White House to forget about her. And I just can't help but say, if this was Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Steph Curry or somebody over there, this would be a lot more in the news as we, all these other breaking news cases. I just don't want her to fall to the background. Is there something more we can all be doing, something athletes, but even just regular folks like you and me, can we be doing something more?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things is that if this were Steph Curry or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, they wouldn't be there. It wouldn't be happening in the first place, because I think one of the things that we need to pay more attention to is the economic underpinnings of this. This is not, you can look at it as a political case. You can look at it as an example of the relationship between the United States and Russia. But what this really is an economic case, because female athletes have to travel the world and be very vulnerable and go to places that may be dangerous for them in order to earn, because they do not earn the salaries that the male athletes earn here. When you're looking at someone, for example, like Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets, he's trying to decide next week whether or not he's going to opt into a $36.9 million contract. Whereas Brittney Griner is making a couple $100,000 here, and she gets to make her real money by going to places like Turkey, like Russia, and some of these places that can put you in very vulnerable political positions, especially as the world gets more and more dangerous.
Yeah, which is heartbreaking. Well, we will continue to follow this case and talk about Brittney Griner until she is brought home here on the Cross Connection. I want to switch gears and talk about Deshaun Watson. This is a case a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions on. Deshaun Watson settled cases. However, my understanding is there will still be punishment potentially from the league. And I'm curious your thoughts, what that punishment could potentially be and what should that punishment look like?
It's been an interesting and very depressing case, especially when you look at what's happening with women around the country now over the last few days, and we've known that this was going to happen over the last several months. And you look now at this case where Deshaun Watson essentially settles pretty much out of the blue, because he said last year he was not going to settle any of the cases, and now he settled 20 of the 24 cases. And the speed of it tells you that he knows that a suspension is inevitable. I think the word is that he's probably looking at a year suspension. But I think the moral and the ethical questions of it require even more scrutiny. I think from the NFL side of it, sure, certainly he's going to face a suspension. Certainly there's going to be some negotiation taking place right now about how long that suspension is going to be. But you really have to look at the Cleveland Browns and the way they manipulated his contract in order to protect his money against the suspension, because they knew when they signed him that he was going to be suspended. So the way they structured that contract, he's not going to lose virtually any money. He's going to lose time, but not money, which tells you that what the Cleveland Browns did was they didn't care about those allegations that these women have. And so these other four cases. Yeah.
It certainly seems like it. We're running out of time. I do want to get in a quick question to you, because you tweeted this a couple weeks ago, and I want to get your thoughts. You talked about the lack of representation in coverage on Monday Night Football. I do want to point out that we have Maria Taylor, the amazing Maria Taylor, here at NBC. But this is a challenge. Mike Tirico does not identify as a black man, so we're not being funny here. But just your thoughts quickly here.
Well, my thoughts just very quickly is that there's a pathway to these jobs. And once again, as long as the quarterback position is the premier position in professional sports, you need more of those African-American quarterbacks. We'll see if the rise of black quarterbacks leads to these post-career positions where they're going to make more money in the booth than they did as players.